because you should go triple down on one thing instead of being half pregnant on 9.
Okay.
Hey, here we are. Um, my man Earl just caught me watching um, Gary Vee. I'm a Gary Vee fan. Gary Vaynerchuk. Wow. So, Valley Beyond is live now. Here we are. Okay, gonna get at this. First of all, I think I want to just quickly explain why I'm doing this. Um, this I'm reading Letting Go. This is an amazing book by my friend, who I've never met, but I consider my friend, David Hawkins. And Dr. David Hawkins wrote an amazing book. Look, we've got customers coming in, tons of them were coming in the store. Anyway, he wrote this book, his last book he wrote before he passed away. And, it's going to take me a little while to read it. And I mean, I'm reading it for you, but I'm also reading it for me, to be quite honest with you. It's just the way it is. I think that it will all benefit. And I suggest there's a link here. If you want to get a copy of this, get a copy. It's an amazing book. And it really covers a lot of the practical of what it is that we're, about life and love and feelings and emotions. And I think that it's important, if we want to expand and grow, to know ourselves. So this is a book that will help you to know yourself way better. So that's the deal. We're going to know ourselves. So the whole thing is about a process called letting go. And I found that lots of times that in life we think we're going to work on something like an emotion, or we're going to work on not being so fearful, or work on not being angry, or work on not being sad, or work on not being depressed. Well, look, it doesn't work. Working on those things seems to make them even worse. So what his process is basically, it teaches us how to let go of the emotion, of the feeling, and just neat things happen. We don't have to kind of, we are already in our essence amazing. We are already in our essence whole. And when we let go of all the stuff that masks that or prevents us from getting to that, then what we're left with is pristine, is divine. So that's the deal. So we're chapter 2. This is actually our 3rd day of reading, but or maybe 4th day of reading, but chapter 2. And you can go back and catch what we've read already on YouTube or Facebook on this channel, and because we have it, especially on YouTube. If you want to subscribe there, you can go back and have a look at it anytime. Okay, the mechanism of letting go is what he's talking about. And what is it? Letting go is like the sudden cessation of an inner pressure, or the dropping of a weight. It is accomplished, or it is accompanied by a sudden feeling of relief and lightness, with an increased happiness and freedom. It is an actual mechanism of the mind, and everyone has experienced it on occasion. A good example, he says, is the following. You're in the midst of an intense argument, and you're angry and upset, when suddenly the whole thing strikes you as absurd or ridiculous, and you start to laugh. The pressure is relieved. You come up from anger, fear, and feeling attacked to feeling suddenly free and happy. Think how great it would be if you could do that all the time, in any place, and with any event. You could always feel free and happy and never be cornered by your feelings again. That's what this technique is all about. Letting go consciously and frequently at will. You're then in charge of how you feel, and you're no longer at the mercy of the world and your reactions to it. You're no longer the victim. I talked about that earlier. Is the victim mentality. It's so strong. We're so attached to the story of how things have been, how unfortunate our life has been, or how we've been mistreated somewhere. most of us have a little bit of victim in us, and we're no longer the victim. This is employing the basic technique of the Buddha, which removes the pressure of involuntary reactivity. Really. We carry around with us a huge reservoir of accumulated negative feelings and attitudes and beliefs. The accumulated pressure makes us miserable and is the basis of many of our illnesses and problems. We are resigned to it and explain it away as the human condition. We seek to escape from it in a myriad of ways. The average human life is spent trying to avoid and run from the inner turmoil of fear and the threat of misery. Everyone's self-esteem is constantly threatened, both from within and without. It's interesting, because we're so good at masking it, aren't we? If you take a close look at human life, you'll see that it is essentially one long, elaborate struggle to escape our inner fears and expectations, and that have been just hang on, try it again. We see that it is essentially one long, elaborate struggle to escape our inner fears and expectations that have been projected upon the world, interspersed with periods of celebration when we have momentarily escaped the inner fears, but the fears are still there waiting for us. We have been afraid of our inner feelings because they hold such a massive amount of negativity, and we fear we would be overwhelmed by it if we were to take a deeper look. We have a fear of these feelings because we have no conscious mechanism by which to handle the feelings. If we let them come up within us, so we have no conscious mechanism by which to handle the feelings if we let them come up within us. Because we are afraid to face them, they continue to accumulate, and finally we secretly begin to look forward to death, to bring all of the pain to an end. It is not thoughts or facts that are painful, but the feelings that are accumulated, are accompanying them. Thoughts in and of themselves are painless, but not the feelings that underlie them. Hang on a second, I'm just going to close here 100%. It is closed 100%. All right, so here we go. Okay, thoughts in and of themselves are painless, but not the feelings that underlie them. It is the accumulated pressure of feelings that cause thoughts. Really. One feeling, for instance, can create literally thousands of thoughts over a period of time. Think, for instance, of one painful memory from early in life, one temporary regret that has been hidden. Look at all the years and years of thoughts associated with that single event. If we could surrender the underlying painful feeling, all of those thoughts would disappear instantly. Really, so if we let go of the feeling, all of the thoughts disappear. We would forget the event. Wow. This observation is in accord with the scientific research. The Gray-Volet scientific theory integrates psychology and neuropsychology. Their research demonstrated that feeling tones associated organized thoughts and memory. Thoughts are filed in the memory bank according to the various shades of feelings associated with these thoughts. Therefore, when we relinquish or let go of a feeling, we are freeing ourselves from all the associated thoughts. That's pretty cool. The great value of knowing how to surrender is that any and all feelings can be let go of at any time, at any place, in an instant, and it can be done continuously and effortlessly. So that's really cool. We don't need to go to the therapist. We can just do it on our own. Imagine. What is the surrender state? It means to be free of negative feelings in a given area so that creativity and spontaneity can manifest without opposition or the interference of inner conflicts. To be free of inner conflict and expectations is to give others in our lives the greatest freedom. To give others in our life the greatest freedom. It allows us to experience the basic nature of the universe, which it will be discovered, is to manifest the greatest good possible in a situation. This may sound philosophical, but when done, it is experientially true. All right. So I think I'll just read another page or two, and then we'll call it a day today. Feelings. This is we're in chapter 2 of Letting Go. Feelings and mental mechanisms. We have three major ways of handling feelings: suppression, expression, and escape. We'll discuss each of them. And I guess the fourth way will be letting go, right? Suppression and repression. These are the most common ways in which we push feelings down and put them aside. In repression, this happens unconsciously. In suppression, it happens consciously. We don't want to be bothered by feelings, and besides, we don't know what else to do with them. We sort of suffer through them and try to keep functioning as best as we can. The feelings that we select to be suppressed or repressed are in accord with the conscious and unconscious programs that we are carrying within us from social custom and family training, so our belief systems. The pressure of suppressed feelings is later felt as irritability, mood swings, tension in the muscles in the back and the neck, headaches, cramps, menstrual disorders, colitis, indigestion, insomnia, hypertension, allergies, and other somatic conditions, somatic conditions. When we repress a feeling, it is because there is so much guilt and fear over the feeling that it is not even consciously felt at all. It becomes instantly thrust into the unconscious as soon as it threatens to emerge. The repressed feeling is then handled in a variety of ways to ensure that it stays repressed and out of awareness. We don't want to do that, do we? No. Of those mechanisms used by the mind to keep the feelings repressed, denial and projection are perhaps the best known methods. As they tend to, so denial and projection are perhaps the best known methods. They tend to go together and reinforce each other. Yes. Denial and projection, they tend to reinforce each other. Denial results in major emotional and maternal blocks. So with denial, it's hard to mature blocks. It is usually accomplished by the mechanism of projection. Because of guilt and fear, we repress the impulse or feeling and deny its presence within us. Instead of feeling it, we project it onto the world and those around us. We experience the feeling as if it belonged to them. They then become the enemy, and the mind searches for and finds justification to reinforce the projection. Blame is placed on people, places, institutions, food, climate conditions, astrological events, social conditions, fate, God, luck, the devil, foreigners, ethnic groups, political rivals, and other things outside of ourselves. Projection is the main mechanism in use by the world today. It accounts for all wars, strife, and civil disorder. Hating the enemy is even encouraged in order to become a good citizen. We maintain our own self-esteem at the expense of others, and eventually this results in social breakdown. The mechanism of projection underlies all attack, violence, and aggression, and every form of social destruction. Wow. So when we're blaming others for how we feel, it can get pretty rough, can't it? Yeah. I mean, I think that's why we often leave relationships, because we're not accepting our feelings, and we're blaming our wife or our husband, or, that's why we leave jobs, because they made me feel. It's pretty immature, isn't it? And I mean, if you're with me on this book, I'm imagining that you're one of those people who want to be more mature, and remember, being more mature doesn't mean not having more fun. Mature can be a lot of fun. And heck, I'm hoping to be more mature. And it's a lifelong process, you guys. It really is. But it can't happen if we don't get the good information. And this guy has got the good information. Expression, he talks about, is the second way. Uh, with this mechanism, the feeling is vented, verbalized, or stated in body language and acted out in endless group demonstrations. The expression of negative feelings allows just enough of the inner pressure to be let out so that the remainder can be suppressed. This is a very important point. This is a very important point to understand. For many people in society today, believe that expressing their feelings frees them from the feelings. The fact is, the facts are to the contrary. The expression of the feeling first tends to propagate that feeling and give it greater energy. Second, the expression of the feeling merely allows the remainder to be suppressed out of awareness. So expression isn't necessarily the way either. Um, the balance between suppression and expression varies in each individual depending on early training, current cultural norms and mores, and the media. Really, expressing oneself is now in vogue as a result of a misunderstanding of the word of Sigmund Freud and psychoanalysis. Freud pointed out that suppression was the cause of neurosis. Therefore, expression was mistakenly thought to be the cure. This misinterpretation became a license for self-indulgence at the cost of others. What Freud actually said in classical psychoanalysis was that repressed impulse or feeling was to be neutralized, sublim, sublim, sublimated, sublimated, socialized, and channeled into constructive drives of love, work, and creativity. If we dump our negative feelings on others, they experience it in an attack, and they in turn are forced to suppress, express, or escape the feeling. Therefore, the expression of negative results in a deterioration, deterioration and destruction of relationship. Oh, therefore, the expression of negativity results in the deterioration and destruction of relationships. That's what I was just saying. A far better alternative is to take responsibility for our own feelings and neutralize them. Then only positive feelings remain to be expressed. Imagine. So those are two ways that we've been dealing with feelings. One is sub, suppression or repulsion, or repression, sorry, or expression. And the third way is escape. Escape is the avoidance of feelings through diversion. This avoidance is the backbone of the entertainment and the liquor industry, and also the root of the workaholic. Escapism and avoidance of inner awareness is a socially condoned mechanism. We can avoid our own inner selves and keep our feelings from emerging by the endless variety of pursuits, many which eventually become addictions as our dependency upon them grows. So escape. People are desperate to stay unconscious. We observe how often people flick on the television the minute they enter a room and then walk around in a dreamlike state, constantly being programmed by the data pouring into them. People are terrified of facing themselves. They dread even a moment of aloneness. Thus, the constant frantic activities, the endless socializing, talking, texting, reading, music playing, working, traveling, sightseeing, shopping, overeating, gambling, movie going, pill taking, drug using, and cocktail partying, all to avoid our feelings. Imagine. Not that we can't do those things, for, just because we love them, but many of the foregoing mechanisms of escape are faulty, stressful, and ineffective. Each of them requires increased amounts of energy in and of itself. Enormous amounts of energy are required to keep down the growing pressure of the suppressed and repressed feelings. There's a progressive loss of awareness and arrest of growth. There is a loss of creativity, energy, and real interest in others. There is a halting of spiritual growth and eventually the development of physical and emotional illness. disease, aging, and premature death. Just from holding down our feelings, imagine. Um, the projection of these repressed feelings results in the social problems, disorders, and the increase of selfishness and callousness characteristic of present society. Most of all, the effect of the inability to truly love and trust another person, which results in emotional isolation and self-hatred. Wow. So we really can't be in a relationship. We can't really be, most of all, the effect of the inability to truly love. We can't truly love and trust another person if we're stuffing our emotions, if we haven't done our work, you know, if we're blaming others. It's so clear that, you know, if you meet somebody and it's part of the early conversation how they've been abused or how they've been, you know, done wrong, that they're still living in an immature state of blaming others. And maybe, you know, if in your conversation that's what's coming out, it's time to look at that. In contrast to the above, what happens instead when we let go of a feeling, the energy behind the feeling is instantly surrendered, and the net effect is decompression. The accumulated pressure begins to decrease as we constantly let go. Everyone knows that. When we let go, we immediately feel better. The body's physiology changes. There are detectable improvements in skin color, breathing, pulse, blood pressure, muscle tension, gastrointestinal function, and blood chemistry. In the state of inner freedom, all bodily functions and organs move in the general direction of normalcy and health. There is an immediate increase in muscle power, vision improvement, and our perception of the world and ourselves changes for the better. We feel happy, more loving, and more easygoing. Imagine, those are the gifts of that. What do you think? So we've been at this about 20 minutes. Should we read a little bit more? Any thoughts, comments? I guess I'll read another page. So the next page is titled Feelings and Stress. There's much attention and publicity given to the subject of stress without a real understanding of its essential nature. It is said that we are more stress prone than ever. What is the essential cause of stress? Certainly is not the external precipitating factors. They are merely examples of the mechanisms we described as projection. It is they or it that is thought to be the culprit, when in fact what we're feeling is merely the letting out of the inner pressure of repressed emotions. It is these repressed feelings that make us vulnerable to external stress. Really. The real source of stress is actually internal. It is not external, as people would like to believe. The readiness to react with fear, for instance, depends on how much fear is already present within within to be triggered by a stimulus. The more fear we have on the inside, the more our perception of the world is changed to a fearful, guarded expectancy. To the fearful person, the world is a terrifying place. To the angry person, the world is a chaos of frustration and vexation. To the guilty person, it is a world of temptation and sin, which they see everywhere. What we're holding inside colors our world. If we let go of guilt, we will see innocence. However, a guilt-ridden person will see only evil. The basic rule is that we focus on what we have repressed. Imagine. Stress results from the accumulated pressure of repressing and suppressing feelings. The pressure seeks relief. And so external events only trigger what we have been holding down, both consciously and unconsciously. The energy of our blocked off feelings reemerges through our autonomic nervous system and causes pathological change, leading to disease processes. A negative feeling instantly causes a loss of 50% of the body muscle strength and also narrows our vision, both physically and mentally. Stress is our emotional reaction to a precipitating factor of stimulus. Stress is determined by our belief system and their associated emotional pressures. It is not the external stimulus. Then, that is the cause of stress. It is not the external stimulus, then, that is the cause of stress, but our degree of reactivity. The more surrendered we are, the less prone we are to stress. The damage caused by stress is merely the result of our own emotions. The effectiveness of letting go and reducing the body's response to stress has been demonstrated in scientific studies, and that is referred to in chapter 14 when we get there. Many reduction programs offered today often miss the essential point. They try to relieve the after effects of stress rather than remove the cause of the stress itself. Or they concentrate on the external events. This is like trying to reduce the fever without correcting the infection. For instance, muscle tension is the aftermath of anxiety, fear, anger, and guilt. Our course in the techniques of muscle relaxation is going to be of very limited benefit. It would be far more effective instead to remove the source of the underlying tension, which is the repressed and suppressed anger, fear, guilt, and other negative feelings. So that's it. There's so much. This is it's great stuff, and I hope that you guys like the what we're reading, and that's it for me for today. I'm enjoying it, and I benefit for sure. And so love you guys, and we'll put this up. It's on YouTube, and you can follow us there. And I love it if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And that's it. I got some customers in the store, so I got to go and see them. And I think I'm going to somehow shut this down. I don't even know how to shut that one down. This one I'm going to go. This is Instagram. Bye, you guys. Love you. Thanks for hanging in there. And there, that's off. And then I've got to go around to the other side of my Facebook and do that. Hey. Hey, just going to shut this off.